Hi everyone. Let's try to add in Han. Hi friends, welcome. We're gonna add Han in. There she is. I hope she got my request. Han, I sent it, so hopefully you got it. Yay! Wonderful!
Hi.
Yay!
How are
Hi
you?
Han.
Hi, Kat. How
I
are you?
wore yellow just for you today.
And you know what? I was gonna wear yellow, but I couldn't find it. I think it's at the dry cleaner for launch for the launch. And so I was looking all over, and I'm like, oh my god, where's my yellow? But
I happened
I
to.
wore yellow a T-shirt yesterday for
That's
my.
most importantly because yesterday was the
I
big day.
appreciate
So
it. You wearing yellow for me. That's so sweet.
So we'll give it like a minute and let our friends come in. I see quite a few
Mhm.
people are joining us. It's so good to see these names. Thank you, everyone. Give it one more minute or so before we kick off our chat. I have my little script here. I'm just so excited to hang out with you right now.
Thank you, Kat. I'm excited too. I'm trying to make sure my phone doesn't fall.
Yep. I have one of those handy dandy stands
Yeah.
that really just like clips your phone in because what else
Can you
are you
hear
going
me
to do?
okay?
I hear you perfectly. Everyone, let us know also in the comment section if you don't hear us or you're having some sort of audio issue with us. Let us know. I hear Han perfectly. I think she hears me. So hopefully we are okay. I see some hearts, so I think that's all right.
Yay.
Yay!
Okay.
All right, I think we should get started. I think it's time. I'm just so excited to talk to you. Uh, I
Thank
have
you.
to I have to do my brief little intro, everyone, so bear with me. If you don't know who I am, hello, friends. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the social media manager at the Highlights Foundation, and I'm joining you today on the traditional and contemporary lands of the Siwanoy people here in Westchester, New York. Thank you for joining us for this IG Live. And this is, of course, like all of Highlight's virtual spaces and in person, this is a place to learn and to listen to one another and to create and engage respectfully. So please, no hate, no harm, and no harassment of any kind. Now let's get started. Inspired by her first teacher at the refugee camp, Han Bowie pursued a master's degree in early childhood education and taught second grade. Han's commitment to celebrating her heritage includes giving presentations at school visits about her refugee experience to children studying immigration as part of their school curriculum. She serves as the co-chair of the Equity and Inclusion Team for the Mid-Atlantic region of SCBWI. She is the member of Diverse Voice and has been featured in Highlights for Children magazine and Next Avenue. She is the author of the Yellow Owl Die, illustrated, excuse me, I'm just so excited, illustrated by Minnie Fawn, which we are celebrating today. And thank you for being with us, Han. Yay!
Thank you for inviting me, Kat. I'm so excited to talk with you.
For those of you that have not seen this gorgeous cover, I pulled it up on my phone, on my computer. I mean,
I
Minnie
brought my
Fawn.
phone. There it is.
I mean, look how gorgeous Minnie Fawn did an incredible job. I actually had the privilege of all privileges to read this already before it came out to the world yesterday, and it is a gorgeous story. So let's jump right into our questions. Han, tell us how this story came to life. Where did the story idea come from? Tell me everything.
So this story came to me when my daughter was about 6 years old, and she kept asking about the grandmother that she never knew, because my mother-in-law was really a wonderful grandmother to my other two children, and so she had heard all these stories about the grandmother, and she would have called her Banoy, so she would ask a lot about Banoy. And when we went to Grandparents' Day, she was sad because she didn't have grandmother with her. And so I remember coming home one day from work and seeing her in the closet looking at her grandmother's aoyais. And I came in and asked what she was doing, and she was like, "Can I try on the yellow aoyai?" And she was only 6, so it was way too big for her. So we had this conversation in the closet about how it was too big for her and we need to wait till she's 16, and she negotiated with me. So we settled around 13 for her to get to try it. And I would just remember sitting in the closet and showing her photos of her grandmother and sharing the stories that have to do with all of those different dresses that were in there. And that was the beginning of me later thinking when she went to bed, I thought, that's a great way for me to show her that she's always going to be connected to her grandmother, even though she didn't know her. And so I came up with the story idea to write the story so that I think all kids would know that even if someone is not near them, they can still remember them through the family stories and photos and momentums like like her grandmother's aoyais.
And I want to touch upon that a little bit more because when we talked privately before we met today, we
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about how there's always those articles in our homes and our parents' homes that are
Yeah.
just kind of there that we never really know much about. And then all of a sudden, perhaps we reach an age and we're like, wait, what is the story behind that?
Yes.
That dress or that, that I don't know, that vase sitting on the mantle. Like it's just so cool that you've had this your daughter really kind of explored in your closet and then
Yeah.
found out the story about this dress and then it's just so amazing to me that it's almost like three generations worth of like
Yeah.
stories weaved in like it. Oh, I just love
And
it.
then she asked about her grandmother-in-law, and that's when she learned that her grandmother was crowned Mid-Autumn Princess in Vietnam. So my mother-in-law had shared that story with me when she was in her 60s and told me that she had been crowned Mid-Autumn Princess in the village in Vietnam. And I thought, that she remembered that story and shared it with me several times. So it meant a lot to her. And my daughter loved dressing up as princesses. And so when I told her about that, she wanted to know all about the fan dance, all about princesses in Vietnam. And that I thought, I need to weave that into the story. Plus
Yes.
the parts of the story that have to do with sewing and repairing things really were inspired by both my mother-in-law and my grandmother, because a lot of women in Vietnam learn at a very young age how to sew and mend clothes. And when my mother-in-law left, and also with my grandmother, we couldn't bring a lot because it was during the war. So when we left to come to the U.S., they took what they could. And so a lot of women would roll up some of the aoyais and bring them. And once they were here, if anything happens, like as far as a rip or a tear, or if they change in their sizing, they can also still adjust it and fix it. So I just remember thinking about my mother-in-law and my grandmother always repairing clothes and not just tossing them out. And because they really cherish these clothes so much that they wanted to save them, and so they would always just fix them and use them again.
which
And I want, yeah.
which I loved because for those of you that have read it or will read it or need to read it, there's a special bit about sewing in there.
Yeah.
So I just was so touched by that. I was like, oh my God, this story. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I wanted to honor that because that's a skill that a lot of Vietnamese women, when we came to this country, and it was my grandmother and all of the women that were coming during the war, that was a skill that they knew how to do,
mhm.
and it was a skill that they learned as young girls, and I wanted to honor that in the book.
Well, let me just say, I felt all those threads. The family thread, the sewing thread, the importance of family and the importance of your heritage. I felt all those threads and I cannot wait for all of you to read this story. If you haven't gotten your hands on it, run to your local bookstore or bookshop.org or any place, indie place, just go run and get it and order it for your library. I'm telling everyone, I just texted my best friend right before this and I was like, you have to read this story. It is just so beautiful. So
Thank
I'm your hype woman now, Han. So our next question is, what do you hope? I mean, you touched slightly upon this, but I kind of want to go more in depth.
you.
What do you hope a kid feels after reading this story? What do you want kids to take away from your story?
I want children to feel that even if they're missing someone who lives so far away, or a grandparent that comes to visit once in a while, or an auntie or a cousin, they can think about those memories, either by the stories that they share with one another or through some of the momentums that they have collected together. So I want them to know that even if someone's not in their life because they passed on or because they're not near them, they can still remember them through their family stories and through their memories. And that's helped my daughter a lot, to know that she's got this special connection to her grandmother. The fact that they both love the color yellow, and they also love being princesses, and they also love pigs. Like my daughter collects pigs, and so does her grandma before.
That's
And so
amazing.
there's just these little details that my daughter didn't know that now she knows. And I'm so grateful that we have a book that carries on my mother-in-law's legacy. So I'm really grateful for that.
That's amazing. Um, I personally love this next question, but um, what role, if any, the Highlights Foundation played in the book coming to life or in your life? Because for those that may not know, I found out so many amazing things from Han about her connection to Highlights magazine and to the foundation. So I just wanted to give you the time and space to talk about a little about that.
Thank you. So highlights actually has been a part of my life since I was 8 years old. And it was when I first came to this country and I was learning English in my class. And I remember I would go half the day to ESL class. And the second half of the day I was with the rest of the kids and in the regular classroom. And I was the only Vietnamese child. And so I felt kind of left out. And I remember when they would, when it was silent reading time, everyone would gravitate towards these two magazines that were in the room, and it was highlights. And I couldn't read it at the time, so I felt really left out with the taking turns reading. And that really motivated me to want to learn English because I could only enjoy the art, which were great, but I also wanted to be able to have a chance to read. And so I remember being, just really hoping to get a chance to have a turn with it. And that summer, when I went home that first year of schooling, that summer, my teacher gave me 2 copies of highlights to take home. And that just meant so much to me. And then over the summer, my aunties and relatives who spoke more English than I did helped me with the reading. And so eventually I learned how to read. And the next year, when we took turns reading highlights, I could participate.
Oh,
So that was like the beginning. But I also have a special connection to highlights with 2 people, Judy Burke and Christine Cooley, who helped me to be published in highlights in 2019 with my daughter, doing an interview about my refugee experience.
and for those that don't know, Christine French Cully is the Chief Purpose Officer and Editor-in-Chief of Highlights for Children, and Judy is an editor at Highlights Magazine as
Yes.
well. So just for those that don't know, a shout out to them. And yeah, and how about your connection to the foundation? Tell us how that sort of
So
developed.
I met George at the same time when I went up because what happened was Judy invited me up to visit at Highlights. So my family and I went to Highlights to visit after we did our article together. And it was just magical being there. And I met George at breakfast and then learned more about the foundation. And I've been really involved with taking classes as I was developing my writing. I love taking highlight classes through the foundation and just learning about the work that they do. I really support the scholarships that they give to lift up all writers. And so it's been an honor to have highlights be a part of my journey since I was a little girl, and to be able to now give back to highlights. Just it's like this amazing full circle moment. Like I can't wait to send my book to George and have it at highlights. It just means so much to me to know that I started out learning English with highlights, and then now I get to have my book at highlights.
That's,
So
oh my God. I will be at the campus in May, so I will personally make sure it's in a perfect spot and
okay.
I'll take a little photo shoot of it. For those that don't know, we welcome donations from all
Mhm.
author, illustrators, creatives to our library, and we have a special place where we put all the library, all the books that have been donated to us from creatives that have either workshopped with us, have taken classes with us, or just friends of ours. So we welcome all of those books, and we have a special place in our library for them.
I,
Um,
I like
yes,
to I like to
yes.
add that when I first found out highlights foundations in the classes, I was at the very beginning stages of my writing, and I remember just like everyone else, when you're querying, it can be very challenging, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be really hard to deal with rejections and just to navigate that journey. And I remember when I met Judy and her team and shared about my lived experiences and that's my stories are inspired by my lived experiences. So to have them just really embrace my stories and see me and my stories, it really meant so much to me. And that gave me so much fuel to just keep going and sparked my energy to just keep going forward with my journey. So that helped a lot.
Can we expand a little bit on that? What would you tell writers that are sort of in querying trenches right now? And, you're such in a celebratory mood, and so many of us,
Mhm.
me included, we are can't wait to be in that space that you're in
Yeah,
right now. But, it takes a whole lot of work that some people aren't
yeah,
truly aware or don't really want to think about or too scared to think about. But do you want to talk about a little bit about,
sure. Um,
that process?
I think, well, one of the first things I learned was from a mentor who told me embrace revisions. She said be open to embracing revisions because writing books takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that I learned that early on because like a manuscript for a picture book can be between 600 and 800 words
Mm-hmm.
or 900 words. And it could go through like 10 to 50 rounds of revisions. And
Yes.
so a lot of my books went through lots of revisions. And I'm glad that I learned that early on. And I think from my experiences, I feel like it's really important to continue to learn. Like I took a lot of classes. I took classes with highlights, but I also took classes through SCBWI,
Mm-hmm.
and also to build community with other writers, because they're the only ones that really understand this journey that we're on. It's quite challenging, and a lot of people think that picture books are like really easy to write, or that like why does it take so long? Like it's been 2 years since you got your announcement. Like why does it take so long? But people really don't understand the journey unless they're doing it. And so I try to surround myself with people who are like-hearted
Mm-hmm.
and positive, and we lift each other up when one of us needs it. But I also encourage people to read a lot and also take classes and join organizations like SCBWI or take classes through Highlights Foundation. But I think what's really important is while you're waiting,
Mm-hmm.
continue to keep writing more stories and keep developing your stories, but also believe in your stories, because if you don't believe in your stories, no one else will. And it's a challenging business, so you have to believe in your stories and be open to revisions, but fight for the things that you believe in, like the things that affect the authenticity of your story. And
Mm-hmm.
especially since I'm writing from my culture,
Mm-hmm.
if I feel that a change that's being asked for me to make doesn't ring true to the heart of my story or my culture, I won't make that change. But I will explain, in a kind way. I think kindness is really important in this
Mm-hmm.
business, and also just to support one another, support other writers while you're waiting. Go to book launches, go to author events. Booksellers make the best friends in this industry. So I got to know my independent bookstores really well and the people who work there. And I also try to support other authors while I'm waiting.
That's amazing and such a great reminder for me and for anyone else who's querying or thinking about querying or even, at the very basic stage of maybe I want to write children's books. So I appreciate that so much, Han, and that message has been received and I'm just so grateful for that personally and, for everyone else to hear that too. You know, I'm curious if you have read anything recently or you're reading now, and why you're loving those stories,
Okay.
and amplify. Let's amplify some other voices
I
too.
love this book so much. The Kind is Red. Okay. I read this book recently, and I actually had to read it like 3 times. And I actually called up a good friend of mine, Vivian Kirkfield, and I said, "Can you read it to me, please?" So she read it to me aloud because I told her about it. And I just love hearing it in her voice. And we love reading. I read it to her, and I love to hear her read stories to me as well. But The Kindest Red is such a beautiful story, and I really connected with it because the main character, um, at first she's so proud of what she's
Mm-hmm.
wearing for the picture day, but then when she arrives, she knows that all the other siblings look alike for picture day, and she didn't look like her sister. So she started doubting herself. But throughout the whole day, they had been spreading kindness, and so I love that there's a lot of child agency in this book
Mm-hmm.
with her and her friends throughout the day practicing kindness. So the reason I really love this story is because there were so many times in my childhood, or even my daughter's or my children's childhood, where they might have felt that way. They felt left out, or felt this sense of not belonging. And I would have loved to have a friend like that child,
Oh,
who knew how to like inspire everyone to be kind and start this wonderful ripple effect of kindness. So I think that's why I really love that story, because it shows, how children can be so powerful in their voice, but also in their actions. And so I really appreciated this story, and I read it so many times and just love it.
I'm gonna have to go to my library tomorrow and pick that up because I definitely want to read that one because I actually haven't read it yet. So, and
And the
I
art
love
is
the
beautiful. The art is so beautiful.
well, it's illustrated by Hatem Ali,
Yeah.
so and written by S.K. Ali and oof, I don't want to butcher this. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Ibi Tihash. I'm so
Hmm.
sorry. I apologize. And I cannot wait to read that one. My next question is, which I think is an important one because I can't imagine what it's like to be a debut author right
Hmm.
now because I'm not, but I can only imagine that it's chaotic, emotional, all these things. So I kind of want to just see how you're feeling. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Are you able to like take in what's happening, or are you sort of already thinking about book two or the launches that are, the events that are happening? Like, how are you feeling? Let's just talk about how that
First,
is
I
going
want to
for you.
first I want to say to you, Kat, that I believe one day you will be a debut author.
Thank,
So
thank you, Han. That
I
means
just
the
want
world
to
to
say that
me.
to you. And
Thank
because
you.
the way that you share comes from your heart, and that's a good place to start. So I just want to say
Thank
that I
you.
really honestly think one day you will be a debut author, and we'll have this conversation again.
Ah,
But
well, reverse. You'll be
yes,
hosting me.
I
Oh,
want you
thank
to
you.
know that yes, yesterday I had all these plans for my book birthday. I was so excited because it's a long process. And then I got sick. I had a
Oh
cold.
no.
And so I ended up not going out to lunch like I was hoping to with my husband. And then we were going to have dinner with my children. And my plan was to have lobster and chocolate cake. That's what I wanted for my celebration. But I didn't get to do that. But I got to stay home and read all of the beautiful comments and see my book out in the world with people sending me pictures. And it was perfect. I curled up on the window seat with my two pups,
Oh,
and my husband brought me home pho soup, and it's exactly what I needed. So I can't be more happy with how yesterday went. It was a beautiful day. All my closest friends called, and I was able to celebrate with mentors and friends. And really, they were the ones that understood the whole journey. So it was a wonderful day, and I'm so grateful to be at this point and to be able to see my book in children's hands
yeah.
was what I've been waiting
Mhm.
for all this time. Because throughout the whole process, you share your manuscript with critique partners, and then you share them with your agent, then your editor, and then lots with your editor and
Mhm.
design team. But finally, I got to see it held by my nieces, nephews, and cousins, children, and friends' kids. And they sent me photos of their kids holding the book, smiling, and saying they chose that for their bedtime
Wow.
story. That was like the best gift. So that made it so wonderful yesterday.
Oh,
So
oh
I'm
my
really
gosh.
grateful to be at this point in my life.
That's so wonderful. Oh my gosh. I have so many feelings inside of me. I'm like, I can't imagine
Thank
because
you.
ultimately that's what we're doing, right? We're writing for children. And like you said, it
Exactly.
goes through so many adult hands that, you could very easily lose sight of the fact that you're writing for kids. So when you finally get to that place where a child is holding your story,
Well,
oh
like
man,
last
that's
night
probably,
before I went to bed, my cousin wrote me and said her son, who shares a birthday with my book birthday,
oh
um,
wow.
he was 8, and he turned 8, and he chose my story as his bedtime story. And I thought, oh my God, that's like the perfect ending to my day, was that my little cousin, is reading my book. So
Wow. Oh, well, that's amazing. Do you have any plans for the week? Like, are you going to be at stores? Like, should people in your
um,
area know where to find you? Let's talk about where to get some signings.
okay. I believe in supporting indie bookstores. So there's two in my area that I'm going to be doing launches with, and it's Scrawl Books in Reston
Hmm.
and also Bard's Alley in Vienna. And both of them will be having signed copies of my books because I'm going to come by. I was supposed to come by earlier this week to sign, so I'll be coming by later this week to sign. And I'll have an event on the 6th for Scrawl Books, and on the 27th with Bard's
And
Alley.
these are in Virginia, right?
Yes, but
Okay.
if people are outside of my area and they would still like a signed book plate, they can reach out to me and I can send them a
Okay,
signed book
perfect.
plate.
And
So,
feel free to reach Han on her social handles, which I have
or
Han Bowie
on
Writes,
yes,
which
or
is
my
her
website.
Twitter,
Yeah,
or her website,
yeah.
whichever one is best for you. And last but not least, I just am so happy to have been here with you. I saw all these beautiful names pop up. I think we had close to 30 people come in and out, so that's quite a big
Thank
number.
you.
Um, and I just cannot wait to go to my local indie, which thankfully, just to plug this in, was closing down and somebody swooped in at the last minute and saved it.
Yeah.
So it's back open again. So I can't wait to stop in now because they renovated after the new owners came in. So I can't wait to go be like, hello, do you have this book? If not, I think you need to. And so please feel free to follow Han right here on Instagram as well, since we're chatting here. And Han, is there anything else you want to mention? Because I think we've chatted quite a
I
bit.
just want to say that I just told my husband before I got on that to be with you and highlights on my this day right after my book debuts,
Mm-hmm.
it just means the world to me. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's perfect for me to get to celebrate with you all. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for being part of our community, part of our family, part of our foundation family and magazine family. So just it means everything to have you here with us. And as a reminder, our mission at the Highlights Foundation is to amplify the voices of storytellers who inform, educate, and inspire children to be their best selves. Thank you, creatives. Thank you, friends, for joining us. You can watch this interview back at your leisure right here on our Instagram page. I will link it with Han, so you can either watch it on ours or hers. And please don't forget to follow her on all her social accounts and follow us on our social accounts. And congratulations again, Han and Minnie, for this beautiful book because the illustrations
Mm-hmm.
are just stunning. So it just elevates your beautiful words to the next level with how beautiful her
And
illustrations
may
are.
I just add one more thing,
Yes,
Kat? I would like
yes,
to just do a shout out to teachers and librarians
yes.
and thank them for the work that they do because they are our allies and we want to be theirs. And they teachers have been and librarians have been about a part of my life since I was a little girl. So getting to this point, it's all because of all the support I had growing up. So I just want to say thank you to teachers and librarians for
I echo
being
that.
everyday heroes.
Yes, I echo those. I echo that because not all heroes wear capes. So
Exactly. Great. Thank you, Kat.
thank you, Han.
And
Bye,
thank you, everyone,
everyone.
for coming.
Thank you for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Bye.